Welcome again, one and all, to another epic collision of crime fighters on Grudge Match, the show that spirits away the characters of the comic universe and plucks them down into neutral territory for killer confrontations. Today's matchup sees two hand-to-hand heroes with enhanced senses and fighting ability going one-on-one. From Marvel, it's the man without fear, Daredevil, and from DC via Wildstorm, the scrapper of Stormwatch, Midnighter. These two characters have very similar looks and very similar methods of operation in terms of both having certain degrees of enhanced senses and enhanced fighting skills and going out to bust heads and stop street-level crime primarily in their superhero personas. So taking a look at them individually and starting with Daredevil, created way back in 1964, Matt Murdock, the man known as Daredevil, first received his abilities as a child when he was blinded by radioactive waste spraying in his face when he was trying to save an old man from being hit by a car. And though he lost his sight, all of his other senses became much more enhanced in order to compensate, including an additional sense coming into play as well, that of a radar sense, which works much like that of a bat, essentially using sound to paint a three-dimensional picture in his mind of his entire surroundings, essentially letting him see more without the aid of vision than most people who can actually see can perceive. In addition to his hearing being enhanced to a great degree, all of his other senses were as well. His ability to smell, his ability to touch, his ability to taste, all enhanced to complete superhuman levels, allowing him to take in vast amounts of information about his surroundings, allowing him to perceive all kinds of information about his environment that others would never be able to understand. He decided to become a superhero when his father, Jack Murdock, was killed by organized crime members, and he decided that he needed to root out these criminal figures in his home neighborhood of Hell's Kitchen, New York. And he decided to do this on two different fronts. He decided to do this as a masked vigilante known as Daredevil, but he also got a legal degree and became a lawyer working by day to stop the criminals in the legal manner in the courts, and then by night he dons the Daredevil persona and takes out the criminals that the law just can't seem to deal with. But even with his greatly enhanced senses, that wouldn't be anything without the physical skills to back it up. Not only has he trained his body to peak human efficiency, but he's also received intense martial arts training from a group of warriors known as the Chase and their leader, the enigmatic man known as Stick. Stick enabled Matt Murdock to fully utilize his radar sense and his enhanced senses to take in all the information around him, and also taught him to overcome any fears he might have, which allows him to do a lot of the things that he does, such as jumping off of buildings and swinging around via his hook line on his billy club, the kinds of things that you see Spider-Man doing. But Daredevil does all of this without having any of Spider-Man's enhanced agility and powers. Now, his enhanced sense of touch does allow him to have an almost superhuman level of balance and equilibrium, but still, he is engaging in the kinds of things that would normally terrify even the most hardiest of humans. That's why he's generally known as the man without fear. He's also one of the greatest physical combatants in the Marvel Universe in terms of martial arts training and skill, and has had a very successful solo career in the Marvel Universe ever since the mid-60s. Midnighter, also known as Lucas Trent, was first created in the Wildstorm universe in 1998, and then after the New 52 reboot, where all the different DC universes were sort of merged, he became a member of the regular DC Universe. Now, he is a charter member of the group known as Stormwatch, and he has a lot in common with Daredevil in terms of enhanced senses and fighting skills. He was given battle implants and physical enhancements by a man known as the Weatherman, who was the leader of Stormwatch in the Wildstorm universe. Now, he has enhanced senses like Daredevil. He hasn't lost his sight the way Matt Murdock has, but all of his senses has been enhanced. Not to the same degree that Daredevil's is. Daredevil's level of touch is so great he can feel ink on a page, or he can smell greater than the greatest bloodhound. Midnighter doesn't have enhanced senses to that degree, but all of his senses are enhanced beyond human normals. He also has enhanced physical skills as well. Superhuman strength, speed, agility, and reflexes, all via battle implants that have been put all throughout his body. But probably Midnighter's greatest attribute is his battle implant that was fused right into his brain, which is battle precognition. He basically has a computer chip in his brain that can analyze an enemy combatant as they're standing and facing off, and his chip in his brain will scan them, analyze their strengths and their weaknesses, and play out any potential battle scenarios instantly in his head hundreds of thousands of times in a split second in order to figure out the best possible course for fighting that specific individual. Essentially, he runs through every possible battle scenario in his head instantly and then chooses the best way to fight. This has allowed Midnighter to take on vastly more powerful opponents and come out on top, because he can figure out any enemy's weaknesses, even if that's something that is fairly well hidden. His enhanced senses allow him to see the energy flow in a person's body, the electrical impulses in their brain, and just really zeroes in on any enemy's apparent weaknesses. And then his high degree of martial arts training and his enhanced physical skills allow him to capitalize on those weaknesses and take down most anyone he comes up against. So having taken a look at the skills and abilities and powers of these two scrappers, it's time to determine who would win if they were to ever collide in one-on-one competition. That winner's going to be Midnighter. Even though Daredevil has a greater degree of enhanced senses, which allow him to take in more information about his surroundings than Midnighter would, when it comes to that battle precognition that allows Midnighter to zero in on any enemy's weaknesses, even if that weakness is not immediately apparent, that's going to be a big problem for Daredevil, because Daredevil does have problems when it comes to his radar sense and his enhanced senses. Basically, Daredevil can be overloaded. If a loud enough sound occurs without warning, it will throw off not only his radar, but also hurt his hearing. So that's the kind of thing that Midnighter might be able to capitalize on. He would recognize that flaw in Daredevil's abilities via his battle computer in his head, and then he would just have to make some kind of incredibly loud bang or collision of sound that would throw off Daredevil's radar sense. And even for a split second, with Midnighter's enhanced reflexes that would actually be faster than Daredevil's, he'd be able to capitalize on it and take Daredevil down for the count. So Midnighter from Stormwatch and DC is going to take home the win of this grudge match. Message me down below, let me know what you think of the outcome, and any suggestions for upcoming episodes. We'll see you on the next edition of Grudge Match.